pads, I mean, it's kind of like I talked about all week. We're going to learn a lot about when we get in pads and where we are. And there's some good things and some bad things on both sides of the ball. But, we have been lifting, running, doing ball drills, doing all that all summer. What we haven't been able to do is play football. And this is where the game is played, is when you put on shoulder pads. And so it was a good first day. We got an awful lot of film. We'll watch it. We'll get better and get some good evaluations on a lot of the underclassmen and just get a great idea on where we are. But day 3 is in the books. We'll go again tomorrow. Go again tomorrow at the same time at 3:30 in the afternoon. We'll be in a 1-a-day, and we'll be in full pads again tomorrow. So, we just got to make every day count and get better as we continue to go through this.
Some of the young guys looked like they relished the opportunity to don the pads, like a Bobby Holly and a O'Shea Dugas. Anybody else stand out to you? And what did you think of those?
Well, those are the guys that really showed up, especially in the inside run. I mean, Bobby Holly isn't afraid. I'll put it that way. I mean, I don't know that he knows what he's doing right now. We got to stand behind him and tell him where to go. But if he can learn what he's doing, yeah, he's not afraid of contact. And O'Shea Dugas is a big physical player. But right now it's day 1. The defense is out there blitzing, stunting, twisting. It's not like they're sitting status quo. And we've talked about this before. I mean, I think it helps us. Last year, it helped us as an offensive football team to try and go against all the movements and pressures and those type of things. And for an O'Shea Dugas, he's still trying to learn how to block a static defense, let alone make all the adjustments to one that's moving. And so, he may look bad at times, but he's not afraid to put his nose in there. We'll learn a lot more off the film.
How crucial is it for guys like that to not be afraid to make a mistake and just go out there and try to be instinctual and then clean it up later?
Huge, and that's one of the hard parts for a freshman. I mean, you go out there and I want to do well, but I'm a little hesitant, and then defense is moving, and it causes you to be a little bit more hesitant to where you start catching and quit coming off the ball. And then the more you do it, the more the game slows down, and that's why we always talk about for underclassmen, the game's moving and fast forward right now. But as the game slows down and they feel a little bit more comfortable and confident, and if they take the proper steps and they get better fundamentally and they'll see where that's going to help them, then I think that's where they'll progress. But it's said it before, for those freshmen, it's going to take every day to get ready to give them any chance at all to be ready for the opening game.
The last 2 days you said some of the guys will look good in shorts, but the guys that don't look good will look better in pads. Did you notice that today?
I'll notice it on film. I mean, it's hard to watch 22 guys every snap with as quick as the game moves. But you'll see, like I look at an Ethan Reed. I mean, I thought he did some pretty decent things today. I thought he looked pretty good and did some decent things. Our defense has got, when they're putting everybody in the box, and we could sit down and throw it every down, but I think it makes us better. It makes us better as an offense, and you got to learn to block everybody, and then the running back's got to make one miss. So I think for us as an offense right now, there's some good things, but I can't tell you enough that I saw up front the physicality that I'll see on film. Same thing with the defense. It's just hard to watch them all.
What were your first impressions just in the trenches, though, offensive and defensive line?
We're too high. We're too high right now. I mean, and then I'll have to watch a film. Is it more technique or is it more the movement, all the movement our defense was giving us? Vernon Butler comes free one time. And I'm looking at the point of attack, and he comes free on the backside. Did the guard step under himself, or was it the movement of the defense that created the opening? And those are the things I got to look at. So hard to really, other than a first impression, they were physical. Didn't quite have the energy that I wish we would have had, but we went in the middle of the day and it was 101-degree heat index. Threw a little adversity their way, and we learned a little bit about how they handled it.
Jeff's had decent days the first 2 days, but today whenever the pads came on, he got under center, it seemed like he was much more comfortable. Do you think that's something for him? He likes being in the 11-on-11 versus the Skelly of the 7-on-7?
Well, and I think first day in pads, we wanted to get a great evaluation with our fullbacks and our tight ends and the quarterback under the center, and he's done an awful lot of that, probably more than any quarterback I have on this roster. But this one wasn't about, we moving the ball and scheming our defense and they're doing this, we're going to attack them with. This was about trying to get an evaluation for those guys up front on both sides of the ball. And so I think Jeff was really comfortable but it's what he's done. It's what he's done. And I think where Jeff will be at his best is when you spread the field and he's got the option of some of the run game to go with it. But he's very confident right now, and he's a great leader, and he handles the two-back stuff really well.
I know that this practice was scripted in terms of lining up tight ends and fullbacks and bootlegs and throwing tight ends and everything, but is that something, we saw it last year obviously, that you want to carry over in terms of trying to do stuff like that for Kenneth and other running backs?
We'll continue to be multiple. Yeah, I mean, we've got to be multiple. We're not going to be just spread the field and throw it every down. We'll continue to be multiple, and we ran a lot. Everything we ran today, we ran last year. So, I mean, there wasn't like, wow, look at that. I mean, we have it. It's just how much of it do you run it? Some games you'll run it more than others. When we were at ULL, I mean, we're backed up. We got in that same stuff and ran a power play and went 99 yards with it. So we'll continue to do all that.
You touched on the walk-ons, I believe it was yesterday, but what is a walk-on here? I mean, how does a walk-on become a scholarship guy? Like you always, like I said, you talk about it, you like walk-ons, walk on yourself. What does walk-on mean here at Louisiana Tech?
Well, there's two walk-ons. There's what they call kind of a recruited walk-on, where you encourage him to come out. We don't have a scholarship for you right now, but if you will come and walk onto the program, pay your own way to go to school and not receive any scholarship aid. If you will do that, I think you have a chance to earn a scholarship here. There's some guys that come in that way that are kind of recruited as walk-ons, and there's other guys that the first day of class we'll have a walk-on meeting and we'll have 80 guys in here. I don't know who they're all going to be right now, but we'll have a tryout with them, and some of the guys will go through that way and come in as a walk-on and go out there on the field and earn their way. But a walk-on just really means that they pay for everything themselves. They don't get any scholarship aid.
I guess I worded it wrong, but I meant like what makes a good walk-on here? Like what are some qualities and characteristics of someone who can be a walk-on and then become a scholarship guy?
You got to have some talent. I mean, obviously you got to have talent. But when I look at the 6 we put on last year and then Michael Mims this year, I mean, I look at all the intangibles. I mean, they're good in the classroom. They're great young men. They handle their business off the field. They're trustworthy. They're accountable. They're dependable on the field. They're physical. They're tough. It's not about the entitlement, of I'm a football player, but it's what do I got to do to help contribute to this team? And they have a very unselfish attitude, and they'll run down on kickoffs or on kickoff return and play an unselfish role just because they want to represent Louisiana Tech and play this great game. And those are the guys that I have great respect for.
There's a term that you've used a lot, and I know you've explained it before, but every time you say it, I'm like, what is he talking about? The dirty dozen. What's the dirty dozen?
The Dirty Dozen is a group of special teams players. We are trying to get 12 guys that aren't starters and get them involved in 3 of the 4 kicking games out of the big 4, the punt return, kickoff return. And everybody goes for 12. You only play 11. Yeah, we have a kicker too. So, I mean, I can't have 11. And so what we're trying to do is find about 12 guys that can make up the bulk of our special teams. Blake Baker was one of those as a special team captain. Josh Ross was one of those for us a couple years ago. Michael Mims was one of those guys for us last year. I mean, those are the guys that are going to come in and watch film on their punt team or punt return team or kickoff team and take some pride in what they're doing. And those are, I look at them as it's our third wave of starters. I've got 11 starters on offense, 11 starters on defense, and I got a dirty dozen. And so I treat them as one of the starting units.
Do you find that with walk-ons it's hard for them maybe at first because they're a part of the team, but you don't really get noticed outside of practice? I mean, the coaches, you might see what they're doing, but no one else does.
Yep.
I mean, they're a walk-on for that reason. So do you see people struggle with that at first maybe?
Yeah, I see scholarship players that come in as freshmen that maybe have to redshirt or don't get noticed or don't get a lot of attention. But I think for a lot of walk-ons that come in unheralded and they got to sit and they got to wait their turn, yeah, you learn a lot about yourself when things aren't going your way, when you don't walk in and go to the front of the line, and you got to earn your way up there, and you got to work hard every single day. And that's why I have such great respects for the walk-ons and what they do. And some of them even have to work to help pay for their scholarship, for their tuition. Some of them have to pay their own way, and some of them are taking loans out. I just got great respect for the sacrifice they make to play this game.
Is Connor kind of a prime example of that? I mean, he goes from walk-on to now he's running with the first team as an inside receiver.
Yes, and Marlon Seats and Ricky Watt and Ricky Jones. A year ago, I think there's a number of guys that are in that boat right now, but Connor would definitely fall in that category.
How do you think a lot of these guys start on special teams?
Mm-hmm.
How does that translate? Because you're doing a lot of kind of dirty work.
Right.
Special teams kind of goes in line with the whole theory of being a walk-on, kind of the grinded out, dirty mentality to get to a scholarship.
Well, the same thing with the special teams aren't glory spots. The guys making the blocks don't get noticed. Everybody knows Carlos Henderson is the kick returner. Can anybody name another guy that blocked for him? I mean, nobody knows those guys' names in front of them. They know Carlos Henderson, and they know, but Carlos couldn't do what he did without those guys in front of him. And it's the unselfish attitude that they just want to get on the field, and they're willing to give up their own individuality for the good of this football team. And that's the respect that I have. That's where I really respect what a walk-on does here.